Here we come to Chapter 8. And in Chapter 8, we're going to be working with something called the 6-column worksheet. Now, obviously, it's called that because there are 6 columns to work with here, okay? So what you really need to do is take a look at this 6-column worksheet and figure out what is actually being placed on it and what is actually being called for, all right? So, if we take a look at our chart of accounts, we can see those listed off to the side here. And they will be in order just as we did them on the trial balance. In fact, what you did in the previous chapter as a trial balance for the ledger, you can also do in the 6-column worksheet. So you do not have to do a trial balance and then transfer it to this trial balance. We simply went over that as a standalone document so that you could look at it and understand it and then start to integrate it into something bigger, the 6-column worksheet. All right. So when you did the trial balance, you listed out your chart of accounts and you had them in the order of the numbers they come in, and with your assets up at the top, and then your liabilities with accounts payable, your capital accounts, and then your temporary accounts, withdrawals, revenue, and expenses. Okay? So that was the order they were listed in on the trial balance that you did just as a standalone document. You could also do the same thing right here, and in fact most accountants just skip the trial balance step as a standalone and they just go and put it in the 6-column worksheet. So what that gives you is this trial balance gives you all of the numbers for all of your accounts, and then you want to rule it and see if it's correct. You add up all the debits, you add up all the credits, and you come to a number there. Now, I don't have enough room to put all the numbers, so these do not actually total up, but we'll just assume that they do, and what you've got here is your total number, they're correct, and you prove it, you put 2 lines underneath. Okay? So this is the same as the trial balance you did in Chapter 7, just here we're putting it into the 6-column worksheet. Now what you have here is a list of all your numbers. You've got your permanent accounts up top, you've got your temporary accounts down below, and that's how they're listed. All right? Okay. So with that in mind, we're going to take a look at what's going on here as far as these numbers. So we can segregate or separate these out into different statements. Now, if someone asks you, what's your income statement, that's going to be your 2nd column over here. And you'll notice it just deals with revenue and expenses. Now here I just put 2 because I didn't have much room, but you could have many revenue accounts, you could have many expense accounts, but they all go into the income statement. All right? Everything below income summary goes into the income statement. Because what someone's asking you when they say, what's your income statement, is how much money did you make this quarter, year, whatever your accounting period cycle is, how much money have you been making? Okay? So you're going to see this kind of question asked all the time on a show called Shark Tank with a bunch of entrepreneurs, and they're wondering if they should buy in and help out some beginning entrepreneur in their business. They're going to say, what's your income statement? And the entrepreneur will reply something like, we've done $500,000 sales in the last year and $250,000 sales before that. Okay? So they're giving them the number, the difference here between their revenue and their expenses. Now, this is what we want to see for this business. See, we have our revenue is a bigger number than our expenses. That means we made money. Okay? These numbers do not have to line up like this. They could be reversed. You could lose money if your expenses are bigger than your revenue. All right? But the income statement is there for the purpose of just pulling out these numbers and looking at, did we make or lose money based on our revenue and expenses? Now, this income statement, it can be a standalone document. Okay? You don't have to always put these things in the 6-column worksheet. So the trial balance, we've done it before. It's just a standalone trial balance on a piece of paper. We do it out, there it is. Okay? An income statement, you can do the same thing. You just list all your revenues, you list all your expenses, you total them and see what you made. So someone could ask for the income statement just as a standalone document. You don't have to print the whole 6-column worksheet every time. Same thing for the balance sheet. That's another thing that we're going to get to. Okay? So each of these could be their own documents, their own printable pages, whatever you want to do. But a lot of people simply use the 6-column worksheet to integrate all that information together. And then if someone pulls out the 6-column worksheet, they've got everything at their fingertips. Okay? So that's what we're doing here. All right. So you want to understand that the trial balance is all the numbers. The income statement is just revenue and expenses, which makes it easier to do the balance sheet because the balance sheet is just everything else. Okay? Anything not expenses and revenue goes into the balance sheet. There you go. Everything above the income summary, we'll get to that in later chapters, goes in there. Okay? So these are your more permanent accounts, or ones that are going to affect capital, like withdrawals. See, we've got withdrawals over here, which is a temporary account, but it ends up on the balance sheet. Okay? So that's something you want to keep in mind. I called these temporary accounts and they go on there, but really it's just expenses and revenue. There is another temporary account, withdrawals, and it goes on the balance sheet. Okay? So it's the one temporary account with all the permanent accounts. So these are your assets, your liabilities, your capital, and your withdrawals, because it sort of affects capital, and that's why it's put in over there. So these are your permanent accounts. You know, on your balance sheet, what's your company worth? So this one, income statement, is how much money you made in an accounting cycle. This is how much your company is worth in an accounting cycle, because this will eventually get folded into capital, and it'll increase it or decrease it depending on how much money we've made. So if we look at the balance sheet, that's going to show our permanent accounts, assets. Those are permanent things we own. Our liabilities, our debts, that's permanent until we pay it off. And then our capital, how much is our company really worth? Those are questions we want to know. So people will ask you that. What's your income statement? What they're really asking is, did you make or lose money in this last year or quarter or month or whatever it was? And if they ask you, what's your balance sheet look like? Now what they're asking you is, what's your company worth? What do you have? If you added up all your assets minus your liabilities, what are you worth? So it's good to know the income statement and the balance sheet. These are things we want to understand for those reasons. How much are we making and how much are we worth? Okay? So that's just to familiarize yourselves with the 6-column worksheet. We're going to do a few more numbers over here, but I need more board to do it. So keep in mind that this is the framework which we're working with when we go on to do some more things. Okay? All the numbers. Did we make or lose money? What's our company worth? That's how you want to take a look at these. Or you could say these are all the accounts. These are the temporary revenue expense accounts, and these are all the permanent accounts plus withdrawals that affects capital. Okay, so either way you think of it, that's how you can do it. All right, see you in class.